and welcome. This is the Kestrel Country podcast, where we discuss the people, places, and events all around Kestrel Country. I'm your host, Mike Church, and I'm joined here by my co-host and lovely wife, Kathryn.
Hello.
And we're coming to you from our living room here in the heart of Kestrel Country, and wanted to talk to you today, just kind of get started in this first episode. We're figuring this out as we go, but about what's our plan, what are we going to be doing with this podcast, what's it all about, and how do we get here, and what are we doing?
What are we doing?
First of all, we should probably define Kestrel Country. We're talking about the people, places, and events of Kestrel Country. What does that mean?
It's our area. It's where we live. So we are centered in Moscow, Idaho, but it's broader than that. It's the Palouse. It's beyond the Palouse. It's northern Idaho. It's eastern Washington. It's our region. It's where you can go and explore.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we love. We love to explore. We love to learn about the people of this area. We love meeting people and hearing their story and learning especially about historical figures as well of this area. So that's kind of the people portion that we'll be talking about. The places as well. So we're in real estate. Our primary, kind of our day job is Kestrel Realty Group. It's kind of where this has grown out of. And so we're very passionate about places. Both places to explore, recreate, take our kids.
Historical buildings, historical homes here in Moscow, just finding out more about the place we live.
Yeah, so the places, we'll be telling those stories. And then events, we want to make sure that we're keeping you all up to date on current events, both news, upcoming events you might want to attend, exciting stuff that's happening. But also, again, history. Yeah. Right?
Absolutely.
We're passionate about history. We love the history of the area. We want to learn more about it. And as we learn more about it, share it with you as well. So again, that's kind of what we're going to be doing here with the podcast, is talking about those people, places, and events all around this area of North Idaho, central or eastern Washington, and that's kind of what we're going to be doing.
And Kestrel, so we're going to tell you a little bit about the name, because some people don't know what a kestrel is.
That's true. I kind of grew up with a great familiarity with kestrels, but I forget that a lot of people don't necessarily share that love of birds or understand what it is.
So your family loves birds.
That's true. And so first of all, kestrel is a bird. The American kestrel they're actually native to this area. That's part of why we've called this area Kestrel Country.
I don't think I knew that probably until we started talking about Kestrel Country. I'm sad to say, because I grew up here.
Yeah, well, probably a lot of people, I think, mistake them for sometimes like mourning doves or robins.
They're small. They're the size of a robin.
Yeah, they're the smallest falcon in North America. They're, as you just said, they're about the size of a robin.
But they're really pretty. I saw one today, and I was trying to roll my window down on the car because I was driving. And, I was stopped trying to roll my window down.
You want to be safe.
I was being safe.
When taking pictures of kestrels.
But it flew away. But they're so pretty. The big dark eyes, and then they've got this gray coloring, blue coloring, and the orange, which inspired our color scheme for the real estate business. But just a fun looking bird. Yeah,
they're super, super cool, and they were a favorite bird of my family growing up. My dad always loved kestrels.
Your dad had a company.
Yeah, he named a building company back in Michigan, where I'm from. More on that later, but after kestrel. So that's what a kestrel is. The American kestrel. Our logo has a kestrel in it, and so look them up. And actually. Yes. Something I didn't know when we decided on that name was that the American Kestrel Partnership, which is really the main conservation group for kestrels, is located in southern Idaho.
Which I don't think I knew either.
Which is really cool. So this really is Kestrel Country. Yeah. There's kestrels everywhere.
We have a kestrel box up. This is year one because we got it up this fall, right?
Yeah.
So a Kestrel
So
box.
we haven't had any nest in it
Not yet.
But pretty exciting stuff, and love Kestrel. So that's a little bit about the name.
Yep.
But we should probably talk some about who we are and how we got here.
Yes.
Why are we passionate about this place,
Yes.
and want to share it. So I guess you go a lot further back than I do, obviously, here. So tell us a little bit about.
So I grew up here. My mom grew up here. My grandma grew up here, and it keeps going.
So our kids are
6th generation Moscow
natives.
Yes.
Yeah, which is crazy for me. Again, we'll get back to me, but because I'm from Michigan, going years
Way
back. But our kids are actually 6th generation Moscow natives.
And it's really fun because I'm going to mess this up, but it was my grandmother's grandfather, something like that, who came across by train, went to San Francisco, took an ocean liner up to Portland, and then came all the way down the river to Lewiston, and from there had to take a covered wagon up the hill to Moscow. Wow. Which you can imagine, if you've taken the Lewiston grade at all in a car, that can be a little nerve-wracking with bad weather. But imagine coming up with a horse and carriage, or
do you know, was it Moscow then, or back
oh
before
man,
it was
I feel like this
Moscow?
was in the 1867 range, but Moscow was founded 1897, right? Is that right? So it wasn't officially probably Moscow by then, which is even crazier. And the first set of twins born in Moscow were actually like my great aunts.
Wow.
And
then you had who was it that was early University of Idaho?
Yeah, so my great-grandfather was the second graduating class of the U of I and became a judge, went down to Boise, I believe, for a stint, and his picture was in the Capitol building. I got to see that when I was a kid, so it'd be really fun if it's still there, actually, to take our kids down there. But so he graduated from the U of I. Both of my grandparents attended the U of I, but didn't finish education. And that would have been Depression era. And I think that's why they dropped out. So my grandfather went and worked at the P Mill, which used to be over there on A Street, close to A and Almond. And was
where they're building those Barley Flats condos now.
Yeah. So my grandfather worked there. And my grandmother worked at the bank. It was the First National Bank for a while, and then a U.S. Bank eventually is where she worked. So they grew up loving Moscow and knowing old Moscow and telling stories, many of which I don't remember, but my mom remembers more than I do. And my grandma was a major historian. So we have, it's my mom's, but like that photo album is my grandma, who cared so much about this history, and she loved the area. So
and what was her name?
Victoria and Earl Olson. So her maiden name was
Nelson. All kinds
Nelson.
of Olsons and Nelsons.
Well, and what's crazy,
she was Swedish. Here.
She was Swedish, and my grandpa was Norwegian. And there was the Swedish Lutheran Church and the Norwegian Lutheran Church, and
it's amazing that they ever made it.
But it's really fun. So that history, which we've started to explore a little bit, is just I'm excited to keep learning about, because I feel like I didn't catch it all by any stretch when I was a kid. And she would probably be tickled pink that we're digging into the history of the area.
Yeah. So you grew up here, went through school here.
Yep.
And then we met kind of earlier on through family connection.
Yep.
But we kind of really officially started dating in college.
Yep.
You went to New St. Andrews.
As did you.
College, where I went. So this is kind of where our paths cross. I'll give my history wasn't from the area, so I'll breeze through it a little bit, but grew up in Michigan. Family had been in Michigan for years. My dad still works in the family business of lumber business, which was started in 1890. So we go way back there. But I came out to Moscow for school, for college, attended New St. Andrews. That's where you and I really met and started dating.
Yep.
And then I fell in love, obviously, with you, with the area,
sure at first
with the place to
I'd
live.
have to go back to Michigan, which,
Yeah, but this is such a great
Before
place
we
to
were
raise
really serious.
kids.
This is a great place.
And we just love that about it. I mean, obviously we're passionate about that, but also it's been validated by, magazines ranking Moscow super high as a place to raise kids, one of the best places in the country to raise kids, and we totally agree with that.
And having been raised here as a kid, I used to bike all over town, and
Yeah. It's amazing too, though, how much it's changed.
It has changed.
We were talking about that with some friends just last night about, I've been here now since 2003, so 17 years, and how much Moscow, especially downtown Moscow,
The downtown has really changed.
And it's so exciting. So that's one of the other things that we want to talk about
is
just all this new fun stuff happening, great restaurants that we love to visit,
that have been
and all
here
that
for
stuff.
a while. It's fun. It's fun to see downtown being so revitalized, because my mom talks about shopping downtown when there was the big department store downtown.
Yeah, David's.
Yeah, she got to go there as a kid, and she remembers the windows and what the displays were like at Christmas time. So seeing downtown getting revitalized is exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got married then.
2007.
2007. And I was working at MZ at the time, which is a fairly large employer. They're actually building a big new headquarters building on the St. John's property, or former Helbling property there on the north end of town now. At the time when I worked for them, they were over in Alturas Tech Park, and I was traveling a lot in sales. We were starting to have kids, wanted to travel less. So I transitioned into working for a packaging company so that I could be closer to home.
Based out of Oregon.
Yeah, based out of Oregon. Working here, though, from Moscow, inland Northwest rep. So kind of changed my sales territory, shrunk it down from, at one time, international, East Coast, to the inland Northwest. And even that travel kind of started to wear on me. So decided to jump into the real estate business. Yep. My family has a deep history of real estate development back in Michigan, always been interested in building and real estate, always loved it, and paired very well with the sales experience I had.
Right.
So started doing that, real estate, worked for Key Properties here in town for a while, and then it was...
2 years ago, November.
2 years ago, November, a little over 2 years ago, we started Kestrel Realty Group.
Yep.
And again, named it after the Kestrel, as we talked about. And so that's what we do, kind of full-time job. Also started this last year.
In May of 2019, Kestrel Property Management.
And that's a whole other story, and we'll provide tons of stories, I'm sure, into the future as well. Lots of interesting things happen.
It's been a wild ride.
In property management, especially dealing with old buildings and and lots of tenants. And
but
so
we've
a lot
loved
of fun
it.
stuff
It's been exciting and fun, and it is. It's improving Moscow and improving a building, and that's been really exciting.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we've come. So now we have Kestrel Realty Group on Jackson Street here in Moscow. Myself and three other agents, Jed and Sophie Whitling. They have a huge passion for the outdoors. And so we'll be talking more, I'm sure, with them and about kind of tips and stuff for different areas to explore. Chris Smith, an agent as well, fairly new to Moscow, but he and his wife Latah have been really into. They're really people,
They are.
and love events and restaurants, and so they've got a lot to bring there too. So we just love this area and want to share that love with you all, as many people as possible, and continue to tell these stories about the people, places, and events all around Kestrel Country. So thank you for bearing with us here in our first episode, coming from our living room of our 1920 farmhouse. We look forward to many more and to continuing, and just maybe end by thanking a couple of people.
Always a good thing.
We're really grateful to Darren Doan for helping us just dive in and get started kind of in this crazy stuff, not be precious as he talks about, but just go for it. and also David Shannon, who's steered us in the direction of some great resources, books, and other ideas to hopefully improve the quality and everything as we continue to move forward with the podcast. So thank you again for bearing with us. We really appreciate your support, your listening, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks for joining us. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next week.